The college football playoff is everything.
Toughness, growth, sacrifices.
Laser focus.
This is where I think deep.
Everything you got, all damn day.
The attention to detail is like none other.
Keep physical, keep fighting. We are the leaders.
Tulane takes on Ole Miss, followed by James Madison in Oregon.
It's time to bring it.
First round coverage of the college football playoff presented by Allstate. Saturday at 3:30 Eastern on TNT and HBO Max. Are you ready?
Let's go!
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Driving high will get you a DUI. And if you're wondering if law enforcement can tell you're driving high, well, everyone else can. Friends?
I can tell you drove high.
Parents?
I can tell when you drive high.
Relatives?
I can tell. You drove here high, didn't you?
So what makes you think law enforcement can't?
I can tell.
If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
Hello again for the second time this week. We join you. It is Thursday, December 18th, 2025, and the Phillies have made another move. They heard that Matt's power situation was in peril and decided to strike when they knew he couldn't be watching as effectively as he normally does. That's right. The Phillies snuck up on all of us. They signed a reliever to a multi-year deal a mere 36 hours or something like that after we just spent a lot of time talking about how they hadn't done that in a while. Lucky us. The Phillies and Brad Keller agreed to a 2-year, $22 million deal to bring the former Cubs reliever, into the Phillies bullpen mix. Keller enjoyed a breakout year in 2025 as a member of the Cubs bullpen. His first season really as a full-time reliever. He had been bouncing back and forth for a little while, was with the Royals for a number of years, mostly as a starter. Kind of worked, kind of didn't. But last year, he really burst on the scene, really impressed a lot of people. Good timing to do that in a platform year. And he secures a multi-year deal to pitch for the Phillies. Gives the Phillies, for the moment, a really nice set of bullpen depth. That might not last for too long, however. Keller immediately becomes the second best right-handed pitcher on the Phillies, in their bullpen at least, and will set up behind Jhoan Duran. Great. Awesome. But that's not the end of the story. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And to do that, help me out with that, is my co-host. He is the aforementioned man with the power troubles. He is, thankfully, okay. Now that Pico has come to help him out, he is the Athletics Phillies beat writer, Matt Gelb. Hi, Matt. I'm very glad to hear that things are improving in your situation over there.
My stove works. I just had some soup.
Yay. I love soup. Underrated.
Yes. Soup. How funny that, as we discussed at the beginning of the episode earlier this week, I mean, they end up breaking that streak. It's the first multi-year deal they've given to an external free agent, a guy that they're not re-signing since December 2022. Almost 3 years to the day of their last multi-year deal to an external free agent. So I was a little surprised that they ended up going here, but I think it makes a lot of sense. What was the bleakest part of the last episode we did, Paul, is when we started talking about who is the third best righty reliever in the entire organization. And it was not a clear answer there. Now you can say that going into the 2026 season with Jhoan Duran, Orion Kerkering, and Brad Keller at the back of your bullpen who use their right arm to throw, that's as good of a three righties as they've had, I think, in their bullpen in a long time. Interesting. Yeah, I know you've got Keller, certainly Keller's ahead of Kerkering, I think, but I don't know if it's not a slam dunk. You said he immediately, slots as I guess he's the second best guy. Kerkering was still good.
It is a question.
Yeah. I mean, both of them have limited track records. Simply Kerkering's career is only been a couple years, and Keller, like you mentioned, has only been a full-time reliever for a year. Given what I've heard about the interest in Keller from other teams, I mean, I think there was a lot of belief in that 1 year, that breakout season that he had with the Cubs. and there's like there's all these little pieces of evidence that's just, it's like, oh, he just didn't wake up one day and was started throwing 98. Like there were some changes, that he made. Different mechanical adjustments, different training adjustments, a role adjustment, obviously, going to the bullpen full time. So I think there's pretty strong belief in the industry about, this guy, having a second life as a late inning reliever, a high leverage reliever in baseball. And if you look at, like sometimes I'll want to look at like month to month, like some of the metrics, some of the underlying stuff month by month for a guy. He held his velocity all year last year, right? And there really weren't a lot of dips in performance. I mean, certainly there were some months that were better than others, but on the whole, it was rather steady. And that's a pretty interesting thing, I think, for a guy who was in that role for the first time over a full season.
Yeah,
that's an encouraging thing, I think.
I agree.
Pitched in big games for the Cubs last year. It's not like he was putting up these numbers on a non-contending team in a low pressure environment. Certainly was not that. So I think he checked a lot of boxes for them. I'm really curious to see like what this leads to, as they kind of construct the rest and think about the rest of this bullpen.
Yeah. I mean, you can see it when you load up Brad Keller's Savant page, if you want to take that one data source as an example. First, you get all the red bars, which is great. Anybody who's been on a player's baseball Savant page knows that red is good, blue is bad when it comes to the bars. But if you scroll down a little bit more and you get into the actual like pitch composition, the movement of these pitches, and you compare year over year from 24 to 25, you can see that there has been a change in his pitch shape, most notably with the fastball. To me, he's always had a pretty good slider, but the fastball changed to have, as you would say, more ride. It dipped a bit less, which meant it like stayed up. It carried its plane a little bit more coming into the zone. The sinker, his two-seamer, added a little more break arm side, which of course can't really hurt if you can control that. So there was something there with the change of the fastball, not just adding the velo, which is obviously great. Something changed to help affect that shape of those two fastball offerings. And what did Caleb Cotham talk about when we had him on, and what has he talked about multiple times, even outside of our show? Two fastballs. And so clearly,
and that's usually for a starter, though. But I'll say this: that like because Keller was a starter for so long, there are advantages here, because I do think that this is what you're going to see here, Paul, is like it represents a shift, I think, in how teams look at relievers. Is that obviously the velocity, like that matters a lot. And it's something the Phillies have chased, and every team is chasing. Every coherent team with a pulse is chasing it, especially in the bullpen. But in the past, like you used to have these, and we talked about this, these 2-pitch relievers, and those guys were able to have a lot of success, especially if one of those pitches was plus. I think you see more and more relievers, successful relievers in baseball in 2025 and in next year in 2026, throwing a lot of pitches. Like it used to be, well, as a reliever, I don't want to get beat by my third pitch. I don't want to get beat by my fourth pitch. That's crazy talk. I only have 13 pitches in this outing today to get these 3 outs. I'm not going to use my third pitch, my fourth pitch. I think now, though, you've seen a shift in, when a hitter can go up there and he's like, okay, I can look in certain windows for the slider, and I know that he's got, if he's a sinker slider guy, okay, or 4-seam slider, like I know I can eliminate certain areas and certain counts. And I think now this is how pitching just keeps evolving. It's always so good. It's never been better. I think these relievers with these bigger arsenals, different repertoires to lefties and righties. And if you look at Keller's numbers, like he was successful, very successful against both left-handed and right-handed hitters last year. This guy is like, to me, I guess, like the quintessential reliever in 2026. All of a sudden just throws really hard and throws a bunch of different pitches and can throw them to both sides of the plate. Like, I get why there's a lot of love for this guy.
I look at this market, I look at the Phillies and their composition, and this is something I wanted in broad terms. I did not have my eye on Brad Keller. I was not expecting this at all. I wasn't connecting those dots in any way prior to yesterday. But I was looking at the bullpen and thinking, it is a little bit top heavy, and we talked about depth, this clearly adds to that. Even if there is, I do have a little hesitation about Keller's, track record. You mentioned it's really just a 1-year breakout. There are some things to help support it, right? It's not nothing. It's almost like a pitching version of what we talked about with Kyle Schwarber improving against lefties a couple of years ago. It's like there's actually stuff there to back it up, and there gives you reason to believe that it could continue. And there's a little bit of that happening here with Brad Keller. Him coming from another team means things are still going to be kind of fresh, and we'll have to see how his work with the rest of the staff and the coaching and the catchers, how that all plays into his newfound success. But now, for the moment, the Phillies have a deeper bullpen. Like, even if you're unsure exactly how real Brad Keller's breakout is, he's a good major league caliber relief pitcher. And now the Phillies have, for the moment, 6 solid major league caliber relievers in their bullpen. However, that might not last for long, right?
Yeah, one thing before we get to that, I want to mention this. Keller last year, first full year as a reliever, he pitched 19 times on a back-to-back, like 19 times on 0 days rest. 18 innings in those outings, 24 strikeouts, 3 walks, only 3 runs allowed in those 19 outings.
That's hard to do.
I mean, it's a lot. I mean,
for anybody,
let alone a guy who's never really been in that role full time. There's a lot to like. There really is. And certainly, yes, it requires you to, believe that the 1 year was indicative of what he, can be moving forward. To your commitment, I think why he wasn't really necessarily on your radar or my radar, Paul, is that he had been looking for 3 years, and also had been, his agency had been marketing him as a potential back to rotation candidate.
In the Michael King, Clay Holmes kind of mold.
Certainly, yes. And I don't know that there was like a ton of interest there because, before this, he was a, solid but unspectacular, mid-rotation, probably back of the rotation starter. And certainly there's more money in starting if you're good. But he got $11 million per year for 2 years after signing a minor league contract last year with the Cubs. So I think once the ask came down to 2 years, I think the Phillies were fully involved, and other teams were too. It's an interesting bet.
It is. And now it requires, apparently, a little bit more maneuvering, because the Phillies, as of this recording here, we're doing this on Thursday afternoon, still have an unresolved situation at catcher with JT. That continues to play out. We don't really know at this point how that's going to go.
Will there be a Christmas truce?
With every day that goes by, a little bit more doubt creeps into my mind about whether this reunion is actually going to happen. I'm not saying it's down into even the 40% range, but the longer it goes on, the weirder it feels, right? This felt like one of those things that was going to come together a little bit more quickly than this. And it kind of makes me wonder what might be happening there. I don't know. But clearly the Phillies weren't willing to wait around to make other moves anymore, at least if they were waiting. They went out and they committed $11 million a year to a reliever. But now that adds on some cost, and it may accelerate another thing that we thought was going to happen earlier in the offseason, and that is a potential trade from the major league ranks of the bullpen. So they have this depth, but it might necessitate a move of, someone who's already in to go somewhere else.
Well, I mean, right now they've devoted, if you count the projected arbitration figures, from the MLB trade rumors model for Duran and Tanner Banks, they've committed, and then include Kerkering's, pre-arb salary. They're roughly, for 6 guys, they've committed about $37 million in 2026 money to the bullpen. That's a lot. That is more than they've committed. I cannot remember the last time they would have committed that much. It's got to be up there in top 3 or 4. I mean, I'm sure the Dodgers, because they're carrying 1 million relievers and some of them are dead weight, are up there. I'm guessing the Mets are up there now since they've just spent a lot of money on Devin Williams and Luke Weaver. But the Phillies have got to be in the top 3 or 4. Maybe the Braves are there too, because Rob Suarez and Iglesias, they signed to big AAVs this offseason. It's got to be near the top. And I'm wondering I suspect that they will, trade one of the lefties. And I've been reporting this, since close to the beginning of the offseason. I think they've been looking and thinking and wanting to, shuffle the bullpen mix a little bit. And it wasn't just about adding, I think it was about possibly subtracting or just moving some things around. And it's possible that they have done these bullpen transactions in reverse, maybe, right? Instead of trading somebody away, then going to sign someone, that they've signed someone and then they're going to go trade somebody away. So it might seem a little counterintuitive because they don't have to trade anybody. I think we can have a lively debate about this. I mean, there are plenty of reasons to keep the 6, entrenched guys, the guys that you don't really see as relievers that you're going to option out, that you're going to mess around with, that have guaranteed spots. It does make you a little inflexible, and I'm not just talking about payroll wise. That 6th guy, like let's say it's Tanner Banks is the 6th guy, right? Would you have him 6th on that hierarchy? I guess. Yeah.
I guess depending on the day, I might put him ahead of Orion on some days, maybe not. But yeah, he's no worse than 6th.
I don't think I would put him ahead of Kirkering.
Well, okay, yeah, that's fine.
He would be pitching in a lot of lower leverage situations because there's 5 guys ahead of him. Yeah. And if you think that Tanner Banks, whatever you think of him, if you think that he is capable of handling more than that, and I think off of what we saw last year, certainly against lefties, he's more than capable of that, then maybe you trade from a surplus now and you sort of redistribute this money. And Matt Strom is the most obvious guy, I think. And the Phillies have gotten calls on Strom and Alvarado and Banks because they have 3 solid lefties, and left-handed relief. The market for it this offseason was not good. Gregory Soto got $7.5 million from the Pirates on a 1-year deal, and that's what Strom is making in 2026, $7.5 million. I think they have interest. I think they will be able to trade him if they want to trade him. I think they've explored it. Where do you stand? Like, where do you fall, Paul? And like keeping everybody, possibly having some guys pitching in lower leverage spots than they should, having a little less flexibility in terms of your optionable pieces, because, your 8th guy, if you have 6, okay, then your 8th guy, there's got to be a long guy, and you've, again, it never works out this way where everybody is healthy at once, but whenever Wheeler returns, like, okay, now Taijuan Walker, is he going back to this, like, who knows, bullpen role? Like, does he go back to be a long guy again? So now you've got 7 guys who don't have options, okay, in your bullpen. And the 8th guy, they're bringing in a bunch of, they have some younger arms. They're trying to accumulate some guys on minor league deals. They've made some 40-man moves that we discussed from last week. Are you okay being a little inflexible there in the sake of quality, or would you value quantity and flexibility over maybe some quality? Like, I don't know where I'm not certain where I stand here yet.
It is a really good question that I wasn't expecting to have to tackle during this particular offseason, and I'm glad we have it in its way.
Well, you get in trouble when you always get in trouble when you're like, well, we have too many guys. I don't think that's what they're necessarily saying or thinking here. But it's like, okay, if we move Strom, for example, and we're able to backfill with like an optionable starter piece, right? Some better rotation depth, which they need. Desperately need, like really need. And I don't think they're getting they're obviously not getting a top prospect back if they're trading 1 year Matt Strom. Could they get a solid 40-man depth piece for Matt Strom? Yeah, like, I think so. Like that's not crazy, right?
No, I don't think it's crazy. I mean, I think that the return will be relatively light for someone who's had the kind of major league success recently that Strom has had, but it is the situation, right? He is getting older. There are some, I won't call them red flags yet, orange flags about Strom's stuff and performance late in the year that might indicate that he's due for a step back in 2026, which I don't hand wave away. I do think that's something to watch. It is a hard question because I want there to be this depth that they currently have, that the Phillies currently have in the bullpen.
Somebody's going to get hurt.
Exactly. There's that, right? And also, I think there are enough innings to go around with this group. We're not talking necessarily about 6, entrance music level relievers, in this mix right now. Like, there are only, a limited number of high leverage and game closing spots to go around. You already know Duran is going to take the vast majority of those closing spots. So then it's a little bit of, okay, who gets what after that? And I don't think it's a bad thing to have this kind of reliever mix, this kind of quality reliever mix, major league caliber and better reliever mix available to you. It cushions the blow if somebody does get hurt. And the Phillies, bless them, have been great about staying healthy, but somebody's probably getting hurt. It's just how it goes usually. So it softens that blow. It lessens the exposure of what is currently a very weak cavalry behind those top 6 within the org. Long off season to go, but there isn't a lot left after that. And it helps reinforce some of these games where you could be playing close. The Phillies played how many close games late because they couldn't pull away with their offense, and you just kind of had to, sweat through a big Chuck Hernandez outing in the 6th inning, trying to sweat. Because I feel like right now the bullpen is in a good spot. It is a lot of money to allocate to that position group. I get that. And I can also understand why Strom would be appetizing on the trade market. But this is also a guy who is appealing to the Phillies in that very same way. He has had a unique brand of success where, as a relatively light throwing left-handed reliever, he is able to suppress right-handed batters. He is giving up a lot more fly balls lately, which could lead to problems, but he does still miss barrels, which is great. He's flexible with his role. He can pitch just about any point in the game. And I just think it's not a bad thing to keep him around.
You haven't even talked about the other part of the equation, which is that if you do flip Strom, that is obviously a vote of confidence in Alvarado and Banks, who we've seen be very, very solid relievers, even better than that at times for the Phillies, but are hardly guarantees in 2026.
Yeah, and that's a very fair way to put it. I like Tanner Banks for what he did last year, especially, and in the half season before when, the Phillies picked him up. I think he is a nice piece. He is a nice reliever. I might prefer to have Matt Strom in a higher leverage spot, despite the joke and the memeing of Tanner Banks' performance in high leverage last year. I think Strom is better suited for that. And having those 3 quality left-handed pitchers with their caveats, with their potential pitfalls, it's just nice to have a little redundancy in the system. It's not a bad thing that there are 3 lefties in the current mix, mostly because, to my mind, and this includes Alvarado too, but they're so good relatively against right-handed batting. It kind of takes away that platoon exposure. So
their issue against righties has been their own righty relievers.
Yeah. So I totally understand why a team, in this case the Phillies, would want to trade somebody like Matt Strom with his contract situation, with his fit in the current bullpen, all of that. I think it makes sense. I would prefer to keep him, though. I think the Phillies are better off with him than the financial relief and mid-level-ish prospect that they would get in return for him. I think that's where I land.
October brings it all. Halloween parties, game day tailgates, crisp fall air. At Total Wine & More, you'll find just what you need for them all. You'll find thousands of wines, spirits, and beers at the lowest prices. Mixing up something spooky? Total Wine & More is your cocktail central for all your Halloween concoctions. You'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More. Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. See TotalWine.com for details. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly. B21.
All right, everyone, let's talk about drinking and driving, a decision that will change your whole world. Things will never be the same once you get a DUI because legal fees, time in court are just the beginning. Getting into a crash is another way your world could be irreversibly changed after drinking and driving. Your vehicle may not be the only thing that gets damaged in that crash. You could face a life-altering injury or even death. But you're not the only one who could face those consequences. Your decision to drink and drive could permanently change someone else's world, whether you injure them or leave their loved ones grieving. The next time you're out drinking, call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or a designated sober driver. Always plan for a safe ride home. The only decision that will change your world for the better is the decision to call for a sober ride. It's never worth it to drive drunk. Don't risk it. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Meta is investing $600 billion in AI infrastructure, bringing jobs to communities across America. Phil, a Meta building engineer in Las Lunas, New Mexico, says,
welcoming Meta into our community is creating more opportunities.
Learn more at meta.com/buildingamerica.
Streaming is changing the way we watch live sports. And your internet connection can be the difference between catching the game-winning touchdown as it happens or hearing about it from your neighbor's cheers. That's why Comcast is building the network of the future. Using cutting-edge AI and edge computing technology, we're bringing fans closer to the action in stunning high definition with ultra-low latency. It's not just fast, it's game-changing. Learn more at ComcastCorporation.com/sports.
I think where I land is I'm going to apply too many caveats to it, but I will make the trade if I can get a younger starting pitcher with options who I feel like, could be an effective spot starter for me if I need it, 2-3 turns or something if somebody gets hurt. Because I think that I am really exposed in that area right now. If I'm running the Phillies, I'm looking at it. I have some real sweating at night if I am thinking about what happens to my rotation if one or two guys are hurt or somebody is ineffective. There's not a lot there at all. And so those are my caveats. Like if I can get a solid optionable 40-man starter, I'm not talking about a guy who projects as an ace or a mid-rotation guy, not even that. Somebody who, if you squint, could be a fifth starter in the majors, but more likely is a spot starter, up and down kind of guy, sixth starter type. I would do it for that.
I think that makes sense. Those are good caveats too, right? Because so much of this would depend on what that.
Exactly. We don't know what the possible return is. We don't know. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Along those lines, I'm thinking of teams that could use a reliever on a 1-year deal, so they'd have to be a contending team.
Everybody, a lefty. Right? I mean, like there's
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't really had a moment to think about exactly what player would fit that, but I think someone along the lines of I immediately went to look at the Giants for some reason. Don't ask me why. And I think they have a couple of guys who might fit that mold, like a Kaiwei Tang.
I know what you're saying. Like, a team with maybe a surplus of, rotation depth. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who still wants to compete, but can deal from that. Right.
Yep.
It's a tougher match to make, but I like the caveat because then I could get on board with it. Then it makes more sense. It's a big if. Can you find that guy that fits that
they
role?
don't have to trade him. Like, that's the thing.
Right.
So when you're in that position, like, I do think that you can be picky, and that's not a bad place to be. Now, maybe they do have to trade him. Maybe that, the payroll is high. If they re-sign Real Muto, and let's just say spitball, the AAV is like 15-ish or a little more than that, you're at like 324-ish. They finished last year about 313, 314.
Yeah.
It's high.
It is
very high. And all my reporting is that, they wanted to be, about the same as last year's payroll. Is that about the same? 10 million over? I guess. I don't know. It gives you probably a very, very little wiggle room later.
It does make me wonder. Well, I mean, if the signal was in the wake of the Garcia signing earlier this week that the Phillies were done with their outfield, but now have gone out and added to the bullpen. There's still the thought that maybe something could happen in the infield. Question mark.
Maybe. I mean, I think their stances have changed. It's hard to say. Like, I think they took some. They've shopped Alec Boehm. I don't think that's any secret, and I don't know that they've really liked what they've heard.
Yeah, so 2 straight off seasons of that. That's
not good.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, so for the moment, the Phillies have another really good team lined up here.
This was a good signing. I think
yes.
And even if it does come with a trade, I think the bullpen is better simply because they have another trusted righty. And I think that was something that they have been seeking forever. I mean, think about it. They've acquired a right-handed reliever at every trade deadline. I think maybe every trade deadline since Dave Dombrowski took over.
I was going to say, wasn't it in your piece like each of the last 4 deadlines or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, last year was Duran and Robertson. The year before that was Estevez. The year before that, I guess he was a starter, but really they wanted him to be a reliever at some point, was Lorenzen. Before that was Robertson. Yeah, I mean, they've been in the market for righty relievers, and most contenders are come July, right? But because it's the easiest market to be shopping in. There's so many of them, but maybe it'd be a good thing if they didn't have to go trade a prospect for a righty reliever in July again.
Yeah, honestly, part of that is it makes me wonder if that's why they went out to sign Adolis Garcia without waiting for some other team to see if he was actually broken based on the last 2 years and trade a prospect for him later in the summer. You know what I mean?
Sure. It's just money, not my money.
Yeah, it's just money. And they don't really have a lot to deal from in the farm still, at least not that they're willing to deal from.
No.
So it's interesting. So yes, good signing. I like it. Even if I remain a little bit unconvinced just how real necessarily the breakout is, I do think there's something there. I think
even if there's some regression there, he's still a trusted high leverage reliever.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And now it sets us up for a potential trade for Matt Strom or Tanner Banks or someone else in the mix. We'll see exactly.
I don't see them selling low on Alvarado.
I don't either.
Because you would be, right? I mean, he's coming off of a suspension. He's coming off of, just a really uneven, impossible to evaluate year.
Yeah.
I would not be selling low on him.
No, I would.
Even though he's making more money than Strom. He's going to make $9 million this year. But I'm again, velocity. It's not everything, but it's a whole hell of a lot, especially in the bullpen.
Well, and Alvarado, based on absolutely nothing other than me watching through my television all the time, strikes me as a guy who could come into a platform year like this, is hungry the right word? More fired up, more ready to prove that last year was a mistake.
There's too many jokes.
I know.
I'm not going to make them.
I know. That's why I tried to dance around it inelegantly. Oh boy. I'm going to leave that in. There's a chance, I think, that Alvarado could come in really fired up to a year like this. And
sure.
Selling low.
He's got a lot to prove.
He does.
I mean, he's got a lot to prove.
He's only going to turn 31 this year. He's still got theoretically
another
good
big
number
contract.
He's still got a number of miles left on that arm, especially since he spent so much time in his mid-20s being hurt or otherwise just kind of working through things while he battled his command so strongly. There's time left for him. I'm sure he wants to prove something. So based on that alone, I know he makes more money than Strom, but based on that alone, I would want to ride with Alvarado and not sell low on him.
You're always betting on the stuff. If that's the
that's not even a question. All right, so there's that. Brad Keller is in the mix. Reported, not quite official yet. 2 years, $22 million, flat $11 million per, at least as we understand it right now. And the Phillies have a more powerful right-handed arm to slot in behind Juan Duran. And one last item, I guess, before we wrap up this second episode this week, is it came out yesterday that the Washington Nationals hired away the Phillies' now former director of research and development, Ani Kilambi, who of course had come over from the Tampa Bay Rays a few years prior to lead the Phillies' efforts to revamp their own R&D department. He gets hired by a division rival to be their general manager with the very young front office and field management staff that they're assembling over in Washington. The oldest of them, I think, is 37, 38. Blake Butera, their new manager, is like 35 or 33, something like that.
We all die.
Young, man. Yeah. Yeah, they're a youthful group, and they're starting to turn things around over there in Washington. Will the Phillies lose one of their own in the process? I mean, it's good for him. First of all, I have to disclose that I can't possibly be objective in talking about this because I directly interviewed with Ani Kilambi for a job position that I obviously didn't get.
Is there a sound effect to play right here?
A couple of years ago.
Boom.
Boom. But I enjoyed talking with him in the brief moment I did talk to him, and he obviously did some really good things coming over and helping the Phillies beef up their R&D. So good for him. Nice promotion. Nice to get in your early 30s to be a general manager of a major league club.
I feel like you're underselling it. Certainly. I mean, I want to talk. I think my thoughts generally less about Ani and more about, I'm fascinated by, this is the second time this has happened now in 2 off seasons that a division rival has hired away, like a higher ranking analytics or R&D, however you want to say it, staffer from the Phillies. And I'm just always, these kind of I guess inside baseball stuff, fascinates me. And maybe this is something I'll be able to write about. Probably not at some point. But, when you have such intimate knowledge of an organization like Ani did with the Phillies, how does that work? And this happens all the time. Teams are hiring away people all the time from other teams. And in the age of R&D and big data, and everyone's looking for a competitive advantage. I'm really always curious about how how much intellectual property. Obviously the Phillies are they have their own systems, they have their own metrics and ways of measuring things that are different from how other teams do it. And I got into a little bit of this during the season when there was, the lawsuit that the Phillies was going on between the Phillies and Zealous
Analytics. Yes.
Yeah. One of those outside firms that they had contracted with and other clubs were using. It's just a kind of an interesting gray area for me. I'm curious to see what the Phillies do. Now, Ani had an assistant general manager title with the Phillies simply because that was the only way that they were able to hire him away from the Tampa Bay Rays. When they did hire him, he was had been promoted to some sort of director role, so they have to give him to be able to interview him, let alone hire him. Just to be able to interview him, to get permission to interview him, they have to be offering a promotion. That's how it works with front offices. So the only way that another team was going to hire him away was to hire him as a general manager, which it's a surprising one, I guess, for me. I mean, he's very young, but Paul Taboni is running the baseball operation, with the Nationals, and he's obviously in charge. And it seems like, he's brought some people with him from Boston, and it looks like a lot of people under him are just sort of all acting as kind of the assistant general managers as collectively.
Always love to see a fellow Paul succeed.
This guy's an impressive guy. He's very young and has a lot of ideas. Do the Phillies use this as a way to now go find another, sort of upper level R&D staffer from a quote unquote smart or successful team who's maybe blocked in that organization and give him or her a fancy title, with the Phillies and have them run, the R&D department? I don't know. I mean, I would use this as a chance to interview.
Yeah, of course.
To get somebody in the door here. I know it's later in the off season, but teams can ask for permission anytime. So that's how I would approach it. I mean, now obviously in the Dave Dombrowski structured front office, I mean, there's, one guy who, It's not unilateral decision making, but there's one guy whose opinion really does count more than the others, and that would be Dave Dombrowski.
Sure.
So, I think analytics and R&D have certainly played a role in the Phillies organization. How big of a role in the last few years? I don't know.
Hard to say.
I think that it's played maybe less of a role in transactional decisions and more a role in instruction. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I would say that the pitching program was very closely aligned with the R&D department, and still are and will be. Obviously, like there's a lot of things in place, that are in place that have gone quite well and continue to go well with the Phillies in terms of their pitching.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would use this as an opportunity to go talk to some smart people and see if one of them catches my eye, and probably try to hire them.
Yep.
That's how I would do it. And I'm not saying that these people are growing on trees. That's not my suggestion. And I know that Ani is really, really, really highly thought of in the industry. And ultimately, I guess where I land, Paul, is that like it's good that people want to hire your people. I mean, that is never a bad thing. I mean, because for years and years and years, no Phillies front office people, no Phillies coaches were getting poached. And it's like, is this like a good thing? And it's like, probably not. It's probably not a good thing.
Yeah. It is exactly right. You hate to see somebody who had this influence and everything leave, especially to a division rival, for whatever that's worth. But it is a chance for somebody new to rise up the ranks. It is a chance to really take a step back and look at where the Phillies have come with their front office hires, for sure. It's a good thing. It's a net good thing, even if the Phillies are the one losing the exec in the process. So there we go.
Now it's time to go do the poaching yourself.
Yeah, exactly right.
Now they got the poachies become the poachers.
They got another position to hire, probably. I guess we'll see about that over the next month or two. In the meantime,
nothing better than interviewing for front office jobs.
Boy,
that's what the off season. Honestly, clubs, it has consumed a lot of clubs. I mean, like the first month of the off season now is basically spent interviewing and hiring, because there's so many jobs now in these front offices and these coaching staffs. The Padres, did you see this? The Padres announced like their coaching staff the other day, and it's like there were like 17 names on the list. Their major league coaching staff.
No,
what are we doing here? What are we doing?
That's a little bit too many.
It's about 6 too many. Like,
if there are any of you out there who have aspirations on doing something similar to this, you want to start looking around team sites and connections in toward the end of the regular season and into the playoffs, depending on where the team is in the standings, for those job positions to get posted. This is usually the time. Matt is right. It's a little bit too late to do that for a lot of things this year, but again, every team is different.
Posting jobs I've seen jobs posted the last few weeks, actually, though. So I mean, it depends on the team. Some teams are in different cycles. Like some teams had to hire a whole, front office first, and then are now getting maybe some of the lower level jobs.
Yeah. So if you're somebody who's interested in that, go ahead and check all the different team sites. A lot of things out there for some of you who are looking to get into data science, especially data science and programming. Like these teams want to build their apps. They want to make sure that their tech is up to speed. So there are plenty out there looking for potentially you. Good luck if that is you. All right, Matt, I think that'll do it for us for the second time in 3 days. This is a busy offseason for you and I. This is probably already the most episodes we've recorded in an offseason in our 4 years. That might not literally be true, but it might be. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, as always, if you want to get more of this, and who wouldn't, we have a Patreon with an active Discord server. We'd love to have you be part of our community. It's patreon.com/Phillies Therapy. Come on over and join us. Talk through these things. We had a lot of discussion around Brad Keller and the potential moves that might come after it, both sides of the aisle, so to speak. It's lively. It's always respectful, though. And we'd love to have you join in and let your voice be heard. We're growing every day, basically. And we're grateful to all of you who have joined and who have been with us. So thank you. This might be, I don't want to speak too out of turn here. Who knows what could happen over the next week, but this might be the last time we record before the holidays. I I think I just said that 2
I
days ago.
feel like you're threatening me every time you do this.
You never know what might happen.
Again, I'll end it the way I ended last time. It's like at some point, I think they'd like to have a catcher.
Yeah, that might help, right? Who knows? We'll see. In the meantime, that'll do it for us. That'll wrap up this episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been Phillies Therapy, part of the Believe Podcast Network. For Matt, I am Paul. We will catch you next time.
The college football playoff is everything.
Toughness, growth, sacrifices.
Laser focus.
This is where I dig deep.
Everything you got, all damn day.
The attention to detail is like none other.
Be physical. Keep playing. We are the leader.
Tulane takes on Ole Miss, followed by James Madison in Oregon.
It's time to bring it.
First round coverage of the college football playoff presented by Allstate. Saturday at 3:30 Eastern on TNT and HBO Max. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Your home holds the story of your life. Renewal by Andersen Windows are built to weather every season with you. They frame the little moments.
Look, Daddy.
And the big ones. From first steps to graduation to new beginnings. While life keeps moving, our windows stand strong through every chapter. Let Renewal by Andersen be part of your story. Windows built to last. Visit renewalbyandersen.com to learn more.
Introducing Fidelity Trader Plus. With customizable tools and charts you can access across all your devices. Try our most powerful trading platform yet at fidelity.com/trader plus. Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE, SIPC.
Streaming is changing the way we watch live sports. And your internet connection can be the difference between catching the game-winning touchdown as it happens or hearing about it from your neighbor's cheers. That's why Comcast is building the network of the future. Using cutting-edge AI and edge computing technology, we're bringing fans closer to the action in stunning high definition with ultra-low latency. It's not just fast, it's game-changing. Learn more at ComcastCorporation.com/sports.
This is a real good story about Bronx and his dad, Ryan. Real United Airlines customers.
We were returning home, and one of the flight attendants asked Bronx if he wanted to see the flight deck and meet Captain Andrew.
I got to sit in the driver's seat.
I grew up in an aviation family, and seeing Bronx kind of reminded me of myself when I was that age.
That's Andrew, a real United pilot.
These small interactions can shape a kid's future.
It felt like I was the captain.
Allowing my son to see the flight deck will stick with us forever.
That's how good leads the way.